There are moments in history when freedom does not politely ask for volunteers. It demands the impossible. It calls on ordinary people to do extraordinary things, often at a cost that history will not fully acknowledge for generations. The American Revolution was one of those moments. The colonies stood face to face with the most powerful empire on earth, armed with little more than belief, desperation, and an unshakable conviction that liberty was worth dying for. And hidden within that struggle was a truth so dangerous, so unthinkable for its time, that it had to remain buried in silence. The revolution was not a clean story of flags and speeches. It was mud, blood, disease, and hunger. Soldiers froze through brutal winters, marched until their feet bled, and fought battles where survival depended as much on endurance as courage. The Continental Army was a fragile force, constantly on the brink of collapse. Every soldier mattered. Every musket mattered. Every body willing to stand mattered. And yet one of those bodies was never meant to be there. At a time when society believed women were incapable of combat, leadership, or endurance under fire, a woman made a decision that would erase her identity and endanger her life every single day. She did not do it for recognition. She did not do it to challenge tradition publicly. She did it because freedom was being fought for, and she refused to live in a nation built on liberty if she was not willing to bleed for it. She cut her hair, concealed her body, lowered her voice, and stepped into the ranks as a man. From that moment forward, there was no turning back. One mistake would expose her. One injury could end everything. But she accepted that risk because the American cause demanded commitment, not comfort. She became a soldier not in name, but in sacrifice. Military life offered no privacy and no mercy. Camps were crowded. Conditions were brutal. Disease spread faster than gunfire. For most soldiers, survival was already uncertain. For her, survival required constant awareness layered on top of exhaustion. She learned to move, speak, and exist without drawing attention. Silence became her armor. Training hardened her body and sharpened her instincts. She carried the same heavy equipment, marched the same miles, and endured the same punishments as every other soldier. Weakness could not be shown. Pain could not be acknowledged. She learned to swallow fear and fatigue because exposure was a greater threat than the enemy. When battle came, it came without warning or fairness. Smoke consumed the air. Muskets fired blindly. Orders vanished into chaos. In these moments, identity meant nothing. Only resolve mattered. She advanced when told, held her ground under fire, and reloaded with mechanical precision as men fell around her. Fear existed, but duty overpowered it. She was not pretending to be brave. She was brave. Her actions spoke louder than any uniform ever could. Fellow soldiers came to trust her, not knowing her secret, only knowing that she never faltered when it mattered most. In the chaos of revolution, she earned her place through performance alone. What she represented was something radical, even by revolutionary standards. She proved without words that courage does not belong to gender, that sacrifice does not require permission, that patriotism is measured by action, not by societal approval. As the war dragged on, its brutality deepened. Hunger weakened bodies. Disease ravaged camps. Hope rose and fell with each engagement. Soldiers learned that surviving the revolution required more than belief. It required relentless endurance. For her, the danger intensified with every passing day. Then came the moment that would define her forever. In the chaos of battle, enemy fire struck her. The pain was immediate and overwhelming. Blood soaked her uniform. Any other soldier would have called for help. She could not. Medical treatment would expose her secret instantly. Instead, she vanished from view, retreating into isolation. There, with no anesthesia, no proper tools, and no margin for error, she removed the musket ball herself. She treated the wound in silence, enduring agony rather than risk discovery. Then, impossibly, she returned to duty. This was not recklessness, it was devotion. Devotion to the American cause, even at the cost of her own body. Her wound became a permanent reminder that freedom had demanded everything from her, and she had given it willingly. Her service continued. She carried messages across dangerous terrain, reinforced collapsing lines and stood firm when others broke. She was not a symbol. She was a functioning, essential part of the army that would secure independence. As victory slowly approached, exhaustion replaced fear. The British Empire began to retreat. The impossible became real. America was winning. Soldiers dreamed of home, peace, and recognition. For her, the end of the war brought a new kind of uncertainty. The uniform that had protected her identity would soon be removed. The army that had given her purpose would disband. The question was no longer whether she had been brave enough to fight. It was whether America was ready to know the truth. She returned to civilian life carrying memories no one could fully understand. The war was over, but her silence continued. Her service remained invisible, locked behind a name that was never truly hers. America celebrated independence, unaware that one of its soldiers had shattered the limits of its own beliefs. Yet history has a way of surfacing truths when the time is right. Years later, the truth emerged. A woman had fought as a man in the American Revolution. Not briefly, not symbolically, but fully, bravely, and with distinction. The revelation did not weaken the story of America's founding. It strengthened it. Her story forced a reckoning. It challenged assumptions about who belongs in the narrative of American greatness. It proved that the revolution was not only fought by those history expected, but by those history overlooked. She had not asked for permission to serve. She had acted when freedom demanded action. In doing so, she embodied the purest form of patriotism, sacrifice without applause. Her revelation expanded the meaning of American heroism. It showed that liberty was defended by conviction, not conformity. Today, her legacy stands as a reminder that America was not built by perfect systems, but by courageous individuals. Her story does not rewrite history, it completes it. She fought for a nation that did not yet fully recognize her worth, trusting that the future would. And it did. Because the American spirit has always belonged to those willing to step forward when history demands courage, regardless of the cost. Her secret did not change history because it was shocking. It changed history because it proved something eternal, that the fight for freedom has never belonged to one kind of hero. It belongs to all who are willing to stand.